Chapter 11, Three of Cups. Oberon left with Kain. Malek and Balthazar were driven home by Sebastiano. Oberon drove around Miami without any clear destination. His stomach eventually reminded him that he had skipped lunch. "Do you want to grab a bite to eat?" asked Oberon. "I'm not really hungry, but if you're starving, we can go somewhere. Or we can go home and I can cook you something," said Kain. Oberon meditated on both options. He was sick of eating out and microwave meals, so he opted for a home-cooked meal instead. He drove back to Kain's house, and every so often Kain's phone vibrated. He was ignoring Malik's text messages and calls, and when the two arrived home, Kain frowned when he saw that his father was having another loud party. It peeved him that his father never wanted to party with him. Kain opened the front door, and they practically had to squeeze through the crowd. The electric guitar screeched like a wounded animal, and in the center of the living room, Jack was improvising a guitar solo. And since his muse was watching him, Jack was feeling particularly inspired, and staring and cheering like an excited groupie was Lysandra. And Kain mimicked the excitement of those who surrounded him, and Jack, seeing his son, made him play a rock note, and he grew immediately flustered as he was overcome by stage fright, and he played another wrong note and another. He lowered the guitar before saying with a fake smile, "Concert is over, guys. Circulate." The crowd dispersed, with the bulk of them going to the patio to play domino and poker, and Kain took Oberon's hand to guide him to the island, and Oberon sat on the stool to wait for his meal. "So what are you in the mood for?" Oberon asked Kain. "What can you cook?" asked Oberon. "I can cook," said Kain, listing all of the recipes he knew. Oberon asked for barbecue ribs, french fries, coleslaw, and apple pie for dessert, and Kain put it on a red apron before getting to work, and he prepared the ribs first before whipping out the apple pie. And once he made the coleslaw, he went to the gardens to cook up the barbecue ribs. "Let me have some of that," asked one of the guests, drooling while looking at the ribs. Kain clanked the iron thongs as a threat display, and after cooking for half an hour, he finished Oberon's meal. The pie was left in the window to cool off, and to accompany Oberon, Kain made for himself a small salad. Jack saw that his son had no intention of truly eating, and he fetched a hot dog from the barbecue, and he added ketchup and honey mustard before stuffing it in Kain's mouth, and Kain forced himself to eat despite his lack of hunger, and he finished his salad as well before eating a handful of french fries. "How's the girlfriend hunt going?" Kain asked Jack. "The fishes are biting," said Kain. "Women are not fishes, Kain," said Lysandra, stealing a french fry from Oberon's plate. "You can't just throw the line and expect for them to come flocking." "Have you tried flirting, Kain?" asked Jack. "I hear that wooing is a good strategy for winning over the ladies." "Flirting is not really my style. I feel stupid every time I try one of Malik's stupid pickup lines. They always work for him, but when I try them, I get laughed at. No, flirting doesn't work for me. No. You know, a strategy that never fails is to dance until a woman rose up against me," said Kain before munching on more fries, and his hunger was quickly returning. "If it ain't broke, don't fix it," retorted Oberon. "A man with your body and your dance mood doesn't need pickup lines." "If you say so," said Kain, and he added, "I mustn't mark it until my test results come back. And do you know that condoms inspire? I didn't know. God knows how many germs I got from Eugenia." "She seemed clean enough for a gross hippie," said Jack, teasing his son. "How experienced was she?" "Very experienced," said Kain. "I was never able to keep up with her, so she left me for another man who was skilled enough to satisfy her." "Is that what that slut told you when she dumped you?" asked Jack, frowning, and he clenched his fragile, tiny little fist in impotent fury. "No, she told me that I deserved to be with someone who truly loved me. But before that line, she told me that only once was I ever able to thrill her," said Kain, resting his chin on his hand. "Ouch," said Jack, flinching, and he added, smiling candidly, "Don't make a big deal about it. You just need more practice and experience. You can only learn so much from books." "What's the difference between practice and experience?" asked Lysandra, raising an eyebrow. "Practice is what you do by yourself or with a friend. Experience can only be gained through conquest," clarified Oberon. "Look, there is a woman. Go conquer her," Kain ordered Jack, pointing to one of the guests. "Now it is not a good time," said Kain, coming up with excuses. "I'm waiting for test results." "Just use a condom," said Jack, offering his son protection. "And use one of Dad's pickup lines. They still work even in this century. Trust me, I know from experience." Jack accepted the protection, and he went to the porch to flirt with the maiden, and his ears turned red when he heard his father giggling. The woman turned around before taking a step back, and she looked at Kain from head to toe, and she liked his body but not his icy eyes. And Kain opened his mouth once or twice before getting the courage to speak to the woman. He whispered, "My dad told me to flirt with you, and you can play along or you can laugh and order me to leave." "Is this your first time flirting, sweetie?" asked the woman, amused, and she patted Kain's hair coquettishly. And she was curious about his hygiene, and since his hair felt freshly washed, he passed the first test. "I have flirted before, but it isn't really my style. I dance like an idiot until a woman rubs up against me. In doing yoga is another strategy that has worked for me in the past," said Kain, remembering how he had met Eugenia at a yoga class. "Show me one of your yoga moves," said the woman, teasing Kain. Kain sat on the floor and he crossed his leg, and he rested the entire weight of his body on his hand before lifting himself off, and thus he succeeded in doing the scaled yoga pose. The maiden clapped as well as some of the other guests, and the other yoga poses he did were the garland, the dancer, the warrior, the forward fold, the chair twist, and lastly, the monkey. The monkey was a split with your arms stretched behind your head. "Doesn't that hurt, Kain?" asked Jack, coming over to admire his son's yoga. "Only the first time, though if you do it enough times, you grow to like it," joked Kain before sitting up. "Are you familiar with tantric yoga?" asked Eugenia, Jack's sponsor, boss, and best friend. "Tantric?" asked Kain innocently. "Arjuna, don't corrupt the boy. He's far too innocent for tantric yoga," said Arjuna's wife, Fatima. "I want to be corrupted," said Oberon, raising his hand. "Me too," said the maiden. "Me too," said Jack, raising Kain's hand. Arjuna did a demonstration of the few tantric yoga poses with the help of his wife. The show body caused Arjuna to become overly excited, and he took his wife to a dark corner of the garden to mate with her, as well as to feed the mosquitoes. "Well, that was fun. I gotta get into this yoga thing. And do you wanna practice a few tranquil moves with me?" asked Oberon before he could stop himself. "I would love to," said the woman, assuming that Oberon was talking to her. "I was kidding," lied Oberon, and he added, "but you're Kain's quarry, so you go play with her." "She wants you, so you can have her," said Kain disdainfully. "Relax, boys, there's plenty of me to go around," said the maiden, taking both men by the elbows. Kain reluctantly went towards his bedroom, and he felt uncertain about the situation. He wasn't in the mood. He had just ate. He was missing Eugenia. He was waiting for test results. The more he thought about it, the more reasons he had for not mating with a stranger. The three arrived to the bedroom, and the walk there had felt like an eternity. "I am going to get wine, strawberries, and whipped cream," lied Oberon. He planned to give his friend a bit of privacy. "You two can get started without me." "Don't take too long," said the maiden before turning her attention to Kain. He kept looking at the door and the bathroom. Both were viable escape routes, and the maiden proceeded to string him down, and Kain didn't kiss her nor did he caress her, and he allowed her to do as she will with his unworthy flesh, and after 10 minutes of doing nothing, the woman realized that he was just not that into her. "If you don't want to fight, you could have just said so," barked the woman angrily. "I want a girlfriend, not another one-night stand. If you're just here to fool around, then leave," said Kain before hiding underneath his bedsheets. "I want to fuck you before I decide whether you're worth dating," said the woman sitting down beside Kain, and she lifted the bedsheets to give one last look at his beautiful body. Kain sat up before grabbing the woman by the hair, and he threw her towards his face to deliver a brutal kiss. The woman, excited, continued with her lovemaking, and he completely exhausted her after 2 hours. He used his physical strength and uncomfortable positions to wear her down, and like some cliché, the maiden lighted up a cigarette after she was done. "My name is Adeline, by the way," said Adeline. She was a skeletal lotus lips and her fake nose. Her large bosom was also fake. The only thing not plastic about her was her behind and her blue eyes. I had a lot of fun. We should do this again sometime. Kain took her cigarette before flinging it into the toilet, and he sat down on the edge of the bed to wait for Adeline to leave. The woman got dressed before returning to the party, and as soon as she opened the door, the guests cheered. They had heard everything, and the noise died down little by little as the guests departed, and Kain got Adeline's phone number, which he immediately threw into the garbage where it belonged. And number 2 had gotten lucky, and he went into Kain's bedroom to regale him with the tales of his most recent conquest while he asked Kain for details. Kain repeated everything he had seen and done with a fake smile on his face. He changed the bedsheets before getting a quick shower, and Oberon was allowed to sleep in Grandma Esther's bed since she was never home when Jack organized his little parties. And 3 hours before sunrise, Kain heard a knocking on the door, and he looked to the peephole. He saw a person running back to his car before driving away, and his curiosity compelled him to open the door. And in the floor he saw a white rose and a heart-shaped letter. Dear Kain, you are the only true friend I have in the entire world, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to appreciate you all those years ago, and I'm sorry for being such a self-centered jerk, and please continue being my friend. Signed, Malik. And the other side of the letter there was a poem by Jose Martí called Cultivo una Rosa Blanca, a poem about friendship. Kain called Malik immediately, and in a matter of minutes, Malik drove back to Kain's house, and this infantile letter with a rose had the intended effect. Kain had forgotten and forgiven everything, and Malik stood awkwardly in front of Kain's house, and based on the pillow he was carrying, Kain guessed that Malik wanted to sleep beside him again, and the two shared the bed as brothers as they had pleasant dreams for a change. An uneventful week passed after this incident, and Kain's test results came back negative, and he didn't have cooties, and he was healthy as a horse. The test removed the biggest source of stress in his life, and he bought new condoms, he worked, he celebrated Thanksgiving with his friends and family, and he took Malik to AA into his trauma counselor meetings, and at night he went to Space Club with his new girlfriend Adeline, and he no longer stalked Jeremy, nor Sidanta had the need to have someone keep an eye on Jeremy. Jeremy no longer returned from his days with bruises, and since he had a girlfriend that Sidanta approved of, Jeremy was finally allowed more liberties. With Kain not having a girlfriend, Oberon returned to his one-night stands. Everything was as it should be. On a hot Saturday afternoon in Kenda, Adeline showed up unexpectedly at Kain's house, and so far Adeline had limited her interaction with Kain to clubbing and mating, or mating while at the club, and in the morning she received a text message from Grandma Esther informing her that Kain was going to the baby shower of his ex-girlfriend, and she was welcome to come along if she liked, and after consulting her friends, Adeline was advised to attend the baby shower. Kain opened the front door and was still in his undergarments, and the air conditioner had gone kaput overnight, and while it was being fixed, everyone in the household was sweating bricks. Like, having your air conditioner broken in Florida is a death sentence. No, seriously, like, during, like, the pandemic, a bunch of, like, old people died when the air conditioner broke in, like, the home that they were living at. A lot of people got sued. The true smile on his face immediately faded away, and he had been expecting someone else, and this true smile was immediately replaced by a fake one. Adelaide didn't notice the change because she was distracted by Kain's sweaty abs. Carina moved aside to let his girlfriend come within, and the woman slumped over the couch, and she placed beside her the gift bag. And since she didn't know the gender of Eugenia's baby, she had bought for the little bean a teddy bear and diapers. Did the air conditioner break? Asked Adeline. Is it that obvious? Said Kain dryly, and he brought a ventilator over to keep his girlfriend from overheating. He looked over the work being done before giving himself another cold shower, and there was a knocking on the door, and this time Adeline opened it since her boyfriend was busy showering, and she frowned when she saw an unfamiliar maiden in high heels, and she had midden bills, sun-tanned skin, and dyed blonde hair, and the makeup work was exquisite, giving interest to the face that wasn't anything exceptional. Kain, I'm home, barked Alexia. Alexia, welcome back, said Kain, running out of the bathroom to greet his friend. I missed you. He gave a big hug to his friend. He hadn't seen Alexia in weeks, though they had tested each other often. You did? You surprised me, Kain. Is this the Oberon I've been reading so much about? As Alexia pointed to Adeline. Oh, that is just Adeline, scoffed Kain without giving a second glance to his girlfriend. It's just some random chick. That's just some random chick. Just Adeline, one Adeline extremely offended, and she dabbed at Alexia with her index finger before adding, I will have you know that I am Kain's girlfriend. Pleased to meet you, said Alexia, and he caught his arms around Kain's elbow. Relax, Adeline, said Kain. Alexia's a bit of a flirt, but he's a married man. You have no reason to feel insecure. I see. A married man, said Alexia Adeline before bursting out laughing. And why you dress like a woman? Because it makes him happy, said Kain dryly. If everyone is here, we should get going, said Grandma Esther, sitting up. She took her sewing project with her, and she had already made the dresses and socks for the baby. And at the last moment, she had decided to sew a little pink hat, and she was certain that the baby was going to be a boy. And they got inside the car, and Esther sat beside Alexia while Kain rotted in the back seat with a woman that called herself his girlfriend. He knew absolutely nothing about Adeline. He didn't even know her last name. Her big brother Roger worked in the same police station as Kain, and according to Roger, Kain was a lazy police officer who spent all day doodling in his sketchpad or running errands. He was only useful whenever a computer got a virus. And she also knew that Kain liked playing video games and that he worked out and he was into yoga and that he didn't do mouth stuff. Adelaide began to text her friends and Kain sighed with relief. He didn't need to make small talk with a woman, and he brought out his own cell phone to text over them. He was riding out with Natasha and Jeremy, and they were all going to rendezvous in Eugenia's mansion. Did you sleep well? Tested Kain. Not really, tested Overton. I am jealous. Of who? Tested Kain. Of Jeremy, tested Overton. Ever since Jeremy got Natasha that expensive bracelet, she has completely forgotten that I exist. How expensive was it? Tested Kain. Expensive enough for her to consider switching careers. Who knew that dog walking pays so well? Tested Overton. It depends on the dogs, mused Kain, and Jeremy doesn't just walk the dogs, he washes them every Friday, so he provides groomer service. I bought this bracelet at a discount price, said Jeremy, looking at Overton's cell phone. I don't care how much it costed, Jeremy, lied Natasha before admiring the bracelet. As long as you didn't use the 5-finger discount. That means as long as you didn't, steal it. Here's the receipt, said Jeremy, opening his purse, and Natasha turned her head around to look at the receipt, and this almost caused an accident. Overton photographed the receipt and he sent it to Kain in order to fuel their gossip, and the bracelet had come from a Jewish-owned jewelry store in Miami Beach. And surprisingly, Jeremy had only paid $300 for the bracelet. And during the red light, Natasha once again began to marvel at her slave bracelet. The flower ring was composed of 5 rubies around a topaz, and the delicate chain connected to a golden butterfly. And from the tail of the butterfly, 5 chains linked to a golden bangle with a little round charms, and each charm had a unique design and a different gemstone. This was the first time that Natasha had been gifted jewelry, so in the commemoration of this grand occasion, she was dressed like a woman. Guess what, Kain? Natasha's wearing a dress. The last time she wore a dress was at prom night, tested Overton. And what happened? Did some guy break her heart, tested Kain. It was actually a girl, tested Overton. Natasha was asked to the prom by a cheerleader she had a crush on, and it quickly developed into a Carrie situation. They didn't dump pig blood on her, did they? Tested Kain. No, nothing that exaggerated, just a lot of teasing. You know how women are. Their words cut deeper than any knife, tested Overton, and he was about to rhyme more, but the car stopped. They had arrived, and the guests walked into Eugenia's house, and it was completely decked out in blue and pink ribbons. And as six weeks old, the baby was too small for its gender to be known, but that wasn't going to stop Eugenia from hosting her first baby shower. You look radiant, said Esther, complimenting Eugenia. And have you been throwing up a lot? And have you experienced any hives or other complications? It has been smooth sailing, said Eugenia, patting her tiny belly. I do not know why other women are such martyrs about being pregnant. If everything's going well, then it means you are going to give birth to a baby girl. Baby girls beautify their mothers, while boys have the opposite effect, said Esther before giving Eugenia her present. Trust me, I know from experience. Eugenia opened this present first, and she began to gush over the handsome outfits, and she had a thing for handmade items, the types that were made with love. And she greeted all of the guests until she eventually made her way towards Kain. And Anna had her arms around Kain's elbow, and she was feeling insecure about her non-existent bond with Kain. Alright, that's the end of that chapter. Bye-bye, God bless.